Hey guys, it's Kelsey. I'm back with another scrapbooking process video, and today is another episode of Stretch the Sketch. So this is the sketch we are using. It is a 12 by 12 using two 4 by 6s. It's very symmetrical. It has kind of journaling down the middle with little bow accents. And I'm deciding to squish this down into an 8.5 by 11. This would be a really good page to pull out into a double page because you could get four full-size 4 by 6s across the page. But I decided to kind of squish it down because I had a single photo to use, and I think if I kind of squished it down so it's more of a narrow layout, it would make sense with one horizontal 4 by 6. So I'm going to try and recreate this design. Like with my other Stretch the Sketches, when I do use an 8.5 by 11 design, I will end up matting this on a 12 by 12. So you can kind of see I'm trying to figure out early on what my two pages are going to be, but I'm going to move this pink ombre fringe because this challenge is specifically to change the proportions. So I'm going to focus on this 8.5 by 11 design. I decided to go with this white and black Hello Scripty paper because I know it's going to go on this pretty loud pink fringe paper. So I wanted the main background of the 8.5 by 11 to be a little bit more neutral. I'm using my Bloom paper pad from Maggie Holmes. Again, I'm really trying to stash bust this month. If I haven't mentioned it already this month, I ordered a kit from the Secret Not Secret Kit Club of one of the new collections that came out this year. I am so excited about it. I'm not going to tell you what it is yet. Hopefully I will have it for next month's How to Kill a Kit with Style, but if not, I'll just use it for the month after that. But since I did order a new kit, I'm really trying to challenge myself this month to do a lot of stash busting with some old stash to kind of explain to myself that it's okay that I buy new products. So yes, I'm using my Bloom. The sketch has like a scallopy border in the middle of the page, and the photos are above this border, and then your journaling is below this border. So I'm going to try and recreate that with the florals. So I fussy cut a bunch of florals from this Bloom pattern paper, and I'm going to have those running pretty much through the middle of the page, and then my photo will be above that. I'm just going to map my photo on some white really quick. I'm going to try and remember to ink everything in black. I'm not inking the florals. I think the florals would have looked better had I inked them in black, but it was so finicky getting them layered in this order the way I wanted that I did not want to go through and pull them all up again. So as you can see, I'm really trying to keep them all exactly where they are as I glue them down, but I was just not going to go through the headache of inking all of those. But I think everything else I pretty much remembered to ink. So I'm creating this horizontal bit, and then I do want to have a pattern paper or something that kind of covers the seam that segues it into the photo area on top, because there is this harsh line where these florals end. So I'm just trying to figure out the rest of this border, and then you'll see what I end up doing with the seam. I'm trying to think, do I want to do it symmetrical like the sketch, or do I want to tweak it a little bit? For right now, I'm going to have my photo sit in the middle, but that does end up changing. But what I do decide to do with the horizontal line is I take some pink ribbon that Jennifer sent me, and I'm just going to run that across the top to kind of hide that seam and help segue those layers. So I'm going to glue this ribbon down and just wrap it around the back of the page. This is when it is really nice that this is going to be matted on a 12 by 12 because I'll be able to secure the back of those ribbons to the backing of the 12 by 12. So those won't come loose, but you can just kind of see I'm just going to glue this down and wrap it around the edge. And there we go, going to glue that down too. And then those will be secure once it's backed on the 12 by 12. But from here, I kind of need to figure out embellishment. I have a ton of cut aparts from this collection because I have both the 6 by 6 and the 12 by 12 of Bloom. And so I have cut aparts from both sizes, and I have just a ton of them. So I'm really going to try and heavily embellish using just cut aparts. So that's my goal. I'm just going to go through them really quick. I'm going to try and ignore the stuff that's kind of multicolored and stick with things that are already on the color scheme. So I'm pulling in a lot of pink, but I'm also keeping an eye on the florals because there is some of that bluey teal and yellow. And so I think it would be nice if I could pull in some of that blue and yellow through my ephemera too, but I really want to focus on the pink because I know my background is that fringe paper that's pink, so I want some pink in these layers as well. So the first thing I do is kind of create this vertical drop down bit. I wanted to mimic the journaling that's in the sketch, but I didn't really have a whole lot to say about this. But I wanted to recreate that part of the design by layering up a bunch of these vertical cut aparts. So I'm just layering up a couple of them. It's really nice because a bunch of these layers are kind of gridded, so I could write my journaling on them if I want, but I really don't have too much to say, so I'll just end up putting my title down there, and that ends up working really well. But this is where I kind of decide, okay, I like how this cluster is kind of going on the right side of the page, so I decide to scooch the photo over to the right as well, so I can create an embellishment cluster on the upper left-hand corner. That way it's kind of balanced, like the embellishment corners are on opposite sides of the pages. So that's what I'm focusing on now. Again, I was trying to use a lot of pink stuff up there just so it balanced all the pink layers going on the other side. But I realized the floral design kind of started to look out of place because there was no other blue or yellow in the layers. So I did go into my cut aparts and pull in a blue and yellow scrap to use up there, and I think that helps balance the florals a lot better. So I'm going to go ahead and glue those bits down. And I think my cut aparts are pretty much good. I do go in and add one more bit, but I was really pleased that I got so many cut aparts used up. I think I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cut aparts. So I think that's pretty good. And now everything is looking very flat because everything other than the ribbon is paper. And so I did go into my stash and try to find some other more dimensional embellishment to use. I am keeping in the back of my mind, the sketch has 2 bows as embellishment. So I thought it would be really cool if I could pull in some kind of bow or fabric detail, especially because I already have ribbon incorporated. So that's what I'm kind of thinking, but I haven't gone through my stash yet to try and figure out what I'm going to do for that. I did realize as I glued all these down that I did not ink any of these layers, so I did go back and ink all of those at least. And then I wanted one more kind of pink detail because I realized I kind of removed all of the pink from the upper cluster and I needed some pink up there. So I did go in and get this little 30-cent pink cut apart that I punched into a circle and then inked and kind of tucked in. I think that's a cute little detail. So now I'm trying to just check how it's going to look on my background. I don't know if I glue it down yet or not. I think I am because I'm going to go ahead and ink this white piece so that I can glue it down. I'm going to go ahead and ink both of those layers, I think. I kind of thought at first, like I did with my other 8.5 by 11, that I'd kind of mat it to the side of my 12 by 12, but because I kind of tweaked this design a lot and made it not symmetrical at all, I thought it would be kind of a nice nod to the original design to mat the 8.5 by 11 in the center of my 12 by 12 instead of scooching it to a side, so I do end up kind of doing that. But yeah, I think this is where I'm going through my stash to try and figure out what else I can do. I decided to pull in a couple doilies. I love the way doilies look with Maggie Holmes products, and I think that kind of helps break up the very square corners of all of these cut aparts. So I'm adding one to each of my clusters. And then, like I said, I really wanted to pull in a bow since there was a bow on the sketch. So I have this little fabric piece I'm pulling up to the top, and then this little white and black bow I'm going to pull down into my bottom cluster. And I really love that because it kind of plays off of the ribbon I already have on the page, but then the bow again is very literal to the original sketch, and I love when I can kind of pull in specific things from my inspiration. So I kind of have those two going on, and now I really need to do a title. I really wanted to use this black foam set, but a lot of the letters are dead, so I kind of had to do a pun. That's something I used to do a lot too as I went through my older albums, was I used puns a lot in my title. So I thought it would be funny. I did not have an E to use, and I needed E's for like everything I was going to spell. But this particular photo is when we were giving all the horses hay, and so all of their heads are out of the windows because they all get very excited when it's time for hay. So I thought it would be funny to spell, let's see, like, hey guys, but instead of hey as in hello, it's hay as in hay, the food. So yeah. ignore me trying to be punny, but I think that is hysterical. So that's going to be my title. And I think that kind of helps you understand what the photo is about. I really don't feel like I have to say too much about it. But once I had my title down, I just scooched the bow down because I feel like that made more sense. But it kind of left a piece of foam adhesive behind, and it was a very obvious kind of smudge in the middle of my page. So I decided just to fussy cut another leaf from this floral design to cover it up. And I actually like that better because I kind of feel like there was a weird gap there. But yeah, so that is my design. Now I'm going to mat it on the 12 by 12. And like I said, I decided to actually mat it in the center, which is not something I've done yet. But I feel like that was a nice design, nod to the original design. Inking all the edges, and I'm just going to glue this down in the middle. Obviously, if this was actually going to stay in at 8.5 by 11, I would trim off the edges of those florals. But because I knew this was going on a 12 by 12, I just let them overhang because I feel like it would make more sense once it was matted. And then I did go in and add some white Nuvo drops onto the 12 by 12 to kind of help branch that out to the 12 by 12 design. But I hope you guys had fun seeing this design stretched and squished down into an 8.5 by 11. Check the description to see what everyone else does with this sketch. I think it'll be a lot of fun. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.